We've all been there, right? You make a deal, you shake on it, and you figure your word is your bond. But what happens when things go south? Is that handshake actually worth the paper it's not written on? Let's get into it. So let's just cut to the chase. Is a handshake deal legally binding? The short answer, yeah, sometimes. But oh boy, that sometimes is doing a lot of heavy lifting, and it hides a huge misunderstanding about what a contract even is. And this leads us right to what I call the handshake deal myth. You know the one. It's that idea we all kind of have in the back of our minds, that if an agreement isn't typed up, printed out, and signed in ink, it's not really a contract. It's just a nice chat.
All right, so let's blow that myth right out of the water by looking at the truth about oral contracts, because what the law actually says might just surprise you, and it could change the way you think about every single verbal promise you make from now on.
And here it is, the big reveal. The common belief? Contracts have to be in writing, period. But the legal reality? Nope. Thanks to centuries of what we call common law, which is basically law built up from judges' decisions over time, there's no default rule that says a contract has to be a physical document. It can be spoken, written, or even a mix of both and still be totally legitimate. Okay, so does that mean you can just go around making million-dollar deals on a verbal promise? Whoa, not so fast. The law loves its exceptions, its little asterisks. So while the main rule is that oral contracts are fine, lawmakers created some really important exceptions that you absolutely need to know about. These exceptions come to us from a really old legal concept with a kind of scary name, the statute of frauds. But don't let the name fool you. The idea is pretty straightforward. It just says that for certain really important, high-stakes kinds of agreements, you have to get it in writing. Why? Well, it's right there in the name. To prevent fraud. To stop people from getting into a he said, she said battle over a deal based on fuzzy memories. So what are we talking about here? A classic example is a guarantee. Imagine your friend is trying to rent an apartment, and you tell the landlord, hey, don't worry, if they can't pay, I'll cover the rent. That promise? That's a big deal. You're taking on someone else's debt. The law says that can't just be a verbal thing. It has to be in writing. Same goes for other biggies, like contracts for selling land, or any deal that's impossible to finish within a year. These are just too important to leave up to chance and a simple conversation. So, if lots of oral contracts are perfectly legal, then why is every lawyer, every business expert, every single person with experience screaming from the rooftops, get it in writing? Well, there are some very, very good reasons why a written agreement isn't just a good idea, it's the undisputed champion. It all boils down to one simple, powerful word: evidence. A written contract is, without a doubt, the best evidence of what you two actually agreed on. I mean, just picture it. If things go south and you end up in court, what do you think a judge is going to believe? Two people with totally different memories of a conversation, or a signed piece of paper that lays it all out clear as day? But it actually goes even deeper than that. The legal system operates on this really important assumption. It presumes that when you two went to the trouble of writing everything down, you meant for that document to be the whole story, the final word. The court looks at that paper and says, okay, this is it. This is the complete deal. And that little assumption has huge consequences. And that assumption isn't just a friendly suggestion. Oh no. It's backed up by a super powerful legal rule called the parole evidence rule. You can think of it like the giant stone walls of a fortress, built to protect everything that's inside your written contract. So what the heck is the parole evidence rule? Well, parole is just a fancy, old-timey lawyer word for spoken. So the rule is pretty simple when you break it down. Once you've got a final, written contract, you can't just waltz into court with stories about earlier conversations or verbal promises to try and change what that contract says. The written document is king. Let me walk you through how this plays out. Step 1, you have a complete written agreement. Step 2, the court looks at it and assumes, yep, this is the whole shebang. Step 3, that assumption triggers the parole evidence rule, which comes in like a bouncer at a club. And step 4, that bouncer slams the door shut on any prior verbal promises that didn't make it into the final document. The written word wins. End of story. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine your written contract is a sealed box. You and the other party carefully put every single term of your deal inside that box, and then you sealed it up tight. The parole evidence rule is what keeps that box sealed. It prevents someone from coming along later and saying, hey, wait a minute, we verbally agreed there was supposed to be a gold watch in there too. Well, if it's not written down inside the box, as far as the court is concerned, it doesn't exist.
So let's put it all together. Can a handshake deal be a real contract? Absolutely. But it's a huge gamble, right? You're betting on perfect memories and flawless honesty. A written contract, on the other hand, is the gold standard. It's solid evidence, and it's protected by that powerful parole evidence rule. But just having something in writing isn't the final move. The real question you have to ask yourself is this: have you made it an ironclad fortress? Does that document, that sealed box, truly contain everything you agreed to? Because once it's sealed, what's inside is the only thing that's going to count.